Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing something completely different. I am going to be doing a commentary slash review on this movie that dropped on Netflix this month called The Perfect Picture 10 Years Later. So this is a Ghanaian movie that was produced by Shirley Frimpong Manso, who is also a film director and writer. So let's get to the review, okay guys? Just a side note, I know I will be butchering a lot of the pronunciations of these names, so you all bear with me. I'm East African, I'm not too used to these names, and but we still support the people from West Africa. Now let's get to it. So anywho, this movie starts with a 10-year wedding anniversary of a couple called Akasi and Fela. So it's their 10-year anniversary and they're just out chilling with their friends. And Akasi, the lady, is you can see she is in love, but at the same time she's kind of like, oh man, we do the same thing every single year. It's the same speech, the same song, the same, frou ish. And her friends are like, man, like, why are you complaining? Like, you should be happy, like, you've been married for 10 years, it's sweet and all that jazz, right? And her besties are Aseye, who is without her beau, that is currently working on a marketing pitch to get an investor to put money down for whatever work he has going on. And you have Dede, and Dede is this like super smitten kitten, and she is actually dating like an older man who's called Sam. And these are their character names. So far I will just talk about the girlfriends and their real names. So as Akasi, is the character is portrayed by Na Ashakor Mensa Doku, and Aseye is portrayed by the actress Jackie Appiah, and Dede is played by Lydia Forson. And her boo and the subsequent boos. Now Dede's boo, Sam, is played by Richard Mofe Damijo. Grampizi in the area. Anywho, I'm not going to go into that. And Akasi's husband Fela is played by Ajete Anang. And Aseye's husband is Larry Stevens, who is played by Chris Atto. Okay, now let's get to it. So after the wedding party, these girls are going home with their respective partners, and along the car ride, they're having the scenes with the separate conversations. And you can see generally, like, these guys are a good couple, they're a good mix. Like I said, Dede and Sam, they're just like, that couple in the beginning stages of a relationship, when everything is just yummy everything is yummy sweet now. And Akasi and Fela are talking about how they met, so they're recounting like their love story. And Aseye and her husband Larry are just more of a mellow couple, and you can see there's something hanging in the air, like with regards to Larry's demeanor. Anyways, they don't get into that, but then now we see their evening now once they get home. So there's a scene now. This next scene is of Akasi and Fela. So you can see Fela is just waiting by the door, and he's like, oh my gosh, what's up with my wife? She's just like, he's waiting for something, but then we don't know what it is. Anyway, she comes out of the bathroom, and then he's like, is everything okay? And she's like, yeah. Then he's like, why did you take so long? She's like, I'm taking a shower. You were taking a shower and you knew I was waiting all this time. So what they were actually waiting for is like a pregnancy test results, and it ends up being negative. And you can see like they're both so disappointed by the news or by the result. And then they're just like, it's okay, we can try again. And she's like, no, I'm tired of trying. We've been trying like way too long, and it just doesn't feel natural anymore. It feels more like a chore. And the husband is offended. But then she's like, nope, I just want to do things the natural way, and I'm done with having sex like multiple times. I just want to turn it to like just once a week at most, upon her husband asking her how frequent she wants to have sex. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, one time, might as well not have sex at all. And then he storms off, goes into the bathroom, and that's the end of the scene. So now the next scene is now of Aseye and Larry. So Aseye is in bed and Larry is coming out from the bathroom. Actually, these next scenes were all from the bathroom. Interesting, I didn't notice that. So Larry is sneaking into his bedroom and trying not to wake his wife up. But then it's like pointless, because as soon as he hits the bed and turns around and he just sighs deeply from relief that he didn't wake her up. But she wakes up and she's like, why are you pretending to be asleep? And it's like, how did you know I'm not asleep? And then she's like, I could smell you. I know your smell. And anywho, they go into like, these cute arguments couples have. Anyway, and then she's like, please, I've known you for a long time. I can smell you a mile away. And then he's just like, listen, I just want to go to sleep, okay? And then she's like, let me help you sleep. And the guy's like, how do I put this delicately? I don't want to make love. And she's like, why? And then he's like, every time you do, you end up being pregnant or you already are. And she's just like, oh my gosh, like that is the insult of insult. You're turning my sex down just because you don't want me to get pregnant. And anywho, she walks out of the room. And then she goes to her kids' room. She's hurt and all that. And she picks a picture frame. And lo and behold, these guys have 5 kids. Woo! I feel his pain. Okay, not really his pain, but I feel the dilemma as to why he wouldn't want to have sex. 5 kids. Anywho, so anyways, he feels bad about what he says. And then he just goes and that's the do. The next scene, of course, is of Dede and Sam, and lo and behold, we are there in the bathroom, and she's talking on the phone with her mom concerning her adopted son who's having trouble with math homework, and she's trying to resolve the issue. Anyhow, so in walks Sam, and I'm assuming they're at his house. Sam comes in with like cups of tea for them to drink, and then Dede is all lovey-dovey. She's all over him, and she wants to like get busy and everything, and he's just like, no, I don't want. He turns down her advances. I'm not really going to go into details because I'm not sure if I should go into details given my conservative nature myself as an African, and also because it's on YouTube and I don't know who be watching. All right. Anywho, he turns her down, and then he's like, besides, our tea is gonna get cold. And she's just like, ugh, man, like, boring. Basically, she is trying to perform a fellatio on him, and he turns her down, and like she's so bored. And anywho, they end up making love, and she's totally like not into it. It's very boring. It's bland vanilla. Then the next day, the girls gather around, like they hang out for tea or breakfast or brunch or something to that effect, and they are gisting about the different experiences that they've had or the events that went down after the wedding. And all of them are just like, they have their own stories to tell, basically, from what happened. And now so the girls are talking, basically recounting everything that I've said. And then they bring up like a taboo conversation that comes up, like for Africans mostly, and that has to do with self-pleasure and oral sex. Again, this is a grown video, so I don't want any kids to be watching this. So from this point on, please just switch off the computer and go play outside. Anywho, so the girls are like talking I mean, Dede now is talking about how the guy turned her down, and then Akasi is talking about how she doesn't, like, perform that service, but her husband does, and she's like totally fine with it. And she talks about how she doesn't want to have sex anymore or as much, and then she's like, I am okay with like doing whatever makes me happy sexually. And the women are like, so Asaya is like, what, you do that? And then they're like, she's like, her friends are like, you don't? And she's like, I thought it was like evil, because like in church we're taught that self-pleasure is evil or sinful or whatever. So I really like how they talked about that in an open way amongst girlfriends, because all African chicks know what's up, but then it's one of those things like, don't ask, don't tell type situation. And then, so anywho, Aseye goes on to say like she wants more kids, and she wants one more. And they're like, you already have 5 children, so are children better than having a good sex life? And she's like, but children are everything to me. Anywho, Dede is still frustrated about her sex life with her boo. And then Akasi is just so sad that she's barren or infertile, or should I say she doesn't have that she's childless. Anywho, so the next scene, we move on to Akasi and her husband going to the doctor's office for, just a discussion about their negative pregnancy results and how they're going to move forward. And Akasi is like, listen, I told you, like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want things to happen the natural way. Her husband's not having it. He storms out of the office, and then she sits down and has a private conversation with the doctor, since she's by herself, and she's just like, listen, I'm done. I just want things to happen the natural way. And then she talks about this new sex position they tried, and the doctor's like, tell me more about this. Yeah. And then he's taking down notes, blah 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 blah. Probably something that he wants to try out on his own. But then we move on to the next scene, where Dede is in her office, and then suddenly she has this visitor guest, and she's like super freaked out once she hears who's coming into her office. And we're like, okay, what's going on? And it happens to be a mother of like a boy she was seeing. So this mother is called Susanna, and Susanna is portrayed by the actress Gloria Osei Safo. So she's coming here to talk about her son called Nigel, who is portrayed by the actor Raphael Boache. I don't know how to say this name. Boake, I don't know. Anywho, so she's like talking about how her son, ever since you were involved with him, he's not acting right, he's not sleeping, he's not eating, he's not going out, he drops out of school. What did you do to my son? I can't believe. Then she puts it on her that, oh my gosh, you assaulted my son. That R word that we all love. And then she's like, nope, I didn't do any such thing to your son. It was a consensual act. And the mother is just like, nope, my son wouldn't agree to any of this. So basically, she's like, oh, you burnt my son, you tortured him. Basically, what they're talking about is just a BDSM situation that Dede was involved in with her son. And that's another concept in African culture. Like, we are so sexually repressed as a society on the outward appearance, but then, to be honest with you, I think Africans are opposite of the repression. Behind closed doors, we are pretty open-minded and flexible, but we don't air that in public. And that's what I love about this film, is that it talks about these things that are considered taboo, but really is just fake taboo, in my opinion. Anyhow, so the woman leaves her office, and you can see Dede is still like panicking, cause there was a video actually of the whole encounter all on the phone. So that's a bit embarrassing. Can you imagine the mother of your ex-lover like coming to show you a video of you and your like, first of all, that's gross, inappropriate, and secondly, it's just like super embarrassing. Anywho, so now the next scene is where Akasi and Aseye are FaceTiming or Skype chatting, whatever you call it. And Aseye is just like super free. And she's hanging out just at a chill spot, and she's like telling her girl, like, yo, come through. And her girl is like, nah, I just came from the doctor's office. She's not really feeling it, and she doesn't want to turn her girl down. But then she's like, listen, I have another call coming in. I'll talk to you later. So Aseye is just by herself at the chill spot, and then lo and behold, there is a gentleman who is like eavesdropping on her conversation, but struck by her beauty. You know how these brothers, they be just hungry wolves. Anytime they see a woman unaccompanied or a woman without a man, they are ready to strike. So anyway, he strikes, all right, and they had a pretty interesting conversation. Like, it was like very flirtatious and everything on his part, but then on hers, she's just like, I'm sure in the back of her mind, she's like, I'm a married woman and a mom of 5. There's no way I should be having this conversation. But then she plays it really cool, and she's like, I better bounce before trouble finds me. And of course, trouble did find her, but not at that moment. And this this gentleman is called Yobana, and Yobana is portrayed by the actor called Gideon Okeke. So flash now over to Larry, now her husband, who's at the office, and he's in a meeting with a lady, and it's like it's more like feedback from his marketing pitch that we find out didn't go well. Actually, it failed, and he needs money. So he's just like, listen, I really need this money for this project of mine to kick off. And this lady's like, listen, I know this guy, but then he's like a loader, and he does not play around. He will finish you if you don't pay him back on time. And Larry's like, listen, let's do this. I can handle it. Is this a good idea? I don't think so. But go hard or go home. And I guess he decided he was not going home. Then now, after that whole encounter that Dede had with Susanna, she is shook. The girl is shook, so she goes to see her therapist, and she talks about everything that happened. And she's like, oh, my life is over. People don't understand. Once this whole thing gets out, I am finished. And the therapist is like, listen, you didn't do anything wrong. You're just like expressing yourself sexually, and you shouldn't feel guilty about any of that stuff. And if this lady is like, if she's threatening you, or if she's coming at you hard, I think you need to lawyer up. So she refers her to a lawyer friend that she has. And then we move over to Akasi and Fela. And Akasi can't sleep, so she rolls over her bed, and she's touching her husband's chest. Like, honey, I can't sleep. I don't know how many women have been in that situation before. Anywho, so he's like, let me make you to sleep. Let me put you to sleep, girl. Hours later, several minutes later, he's just like going in hard, and she's just like, enough is enough. Listen, you've been going at this so hard. What do you take me for? I beg, wrap it up. And anyways, now they fall out, and the dude is like pissed. He's like, okay, how long did I take? And then she's like, yeah, it took 48 minutes. And then she's just so pissed at the whole thing. And then he becomes pissed, and she's just like, listen, me, I'm done. I don't want to talk about this. Done. And he's like, yeah, just walk away like you usually do. That's your MO. And then she's like, you wanna talk? Okay, let me talk. Your family doesn't like me, and you've never defended me. And then they're like, oh, my family does not like you. It's just that are they have questions about why we are childless. And then she's like, oh, so it's my fault that you're childless, eh? And he's like, I'm not saying it's your fault, but then people are going to wonder. And then he's just like, she's just like, listen, me, I'm done. I don't want to have sex anymore. Blah 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 blah. And then he's like, okay, fine. Since you're done, why don't you just move out? Move out into one of the rooms that are in this house due to our childlessness. Her man kicked her out of her own room. This guy has the gall, is all that I can say. Then it's the next day, and then we see Aseye and Larry on the phone chatting with their kids, I think FaceTiming or whatever, and they're at their grandma's place, and it's really cute how they miss their kids and all that jazz. And then Aseye is like, I miss the kids, maybe we should, like, get them back. And then her husband is like, nope, we deserve this, we deserve to have time to alone, and we deserve to sleep in for once in our lifetime. And by the way, Larry hasn't told her about the deal that he had secured with that investor loan shark. She's in the dark. Then flipping over to the next scene, Sammy meets no, okay, I almost spoiled it. Spoiler now. Who is Sammy? Who is she? Oh, who is he? I joke, I kid. So the day is going to visit Taboo Sam. She walks into his mansion, and then what does she find? She finds shoes on the floor. I killed. She finds a bag on the sofa. What is going on? Then this chick walks up in like a fabulous Ankara two-piece, and she's like, yeah, he doesn't like me leaving my stuff all over the floor. And Dede is looking at her like, what are you talking about? She's just like with her jaw on the floor. And then Sam is like on the second floor, and he's looking down like into the atrium or whatever you call that place. And he's like, lovely, you two have met. And we're all like, excuse me, who is this heifer? Sorry. Anyways, he comes down, and then he's like, Dede, I'd like you to meet Sammy. Sammy, I'd like you to meet Dede. This is my daughter. Dede is just like, oh, pleasure to meet you. And Sammy is like looking at her hand like she's touched, like, poop. Like, why are you giving me that hand? Excuse me. And then she completely, deliberately, in the eye, looking her in the eye, passes her handshake and tells her that, oh, Dad, I didn't know that you introduced your daughters to your associates these days. Wow. Anywho, she just walks up and she's like, I'll go to my room or whatever. So she disappears, completely dismissing Dede. And Dede is like, okay, you never told me that you had a daughter. And then she's like, that was something from my past. And then she's like, didn't you think you should have like brought this up? And it's like, well, it has been brought up now. So Dede is like, okay, excuse me, I have to go. Miss me with all this nonsense. So she leaves, and then she has her car parked somewhere, right? And she's just chilling, waiting for someone to leave. And who is she waiting to leave? Susanna. So she gets into her house, and she knocks on the door. And who do we see? We see Nigel. Now this boy that can't sleep. He's been crying his eyes out over this woman. Anyhow, so she goes there and confronts him, and she's like, yo, how could you like have a video recording of me without my consent? Why would you give this to your mother? You know what went down. Everything that went down was consensual, and like, I don't know why you're acting like this whole issue isn't like this whole issue is something completely different from what you say it is. Another guy is like, you told me to wait for you, and like when I'd finish school, we'd be together. And then now I find out that you're with this old man. I've been watching you. And the dad's like, what are you talking about? There is no we, there is no us, it's over. And why have you been watching me? Then the guy is like, oh, I'm so sorry, I just love you so much, I love you completely. Then he moves over to, like, start like touching her. And she's just like, no way, sir. And she pushes him off her onto the floor. Then he's like, so this is what you came for. You came for this information. You didn't even come for me. So the guy is obviously jaded. He is hurt. This is an unrequited relationship. She is completely not into him in that way. It's a one-way street. So the mom comes in and kicks Dede out. And then she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to, I'm like rectify this situation. It's not what it is. And then she's like, get out of my house. So Dede has to leave. And so she leaves. She's in her car and then she cries a river because it's a sad situation. Now the next scene, Larry goes to the office and then like the receptionist is like, listen, your wife is in the office and it's not looking good. And then he's like, okay, go call I think the engineer or project manager or somebody, a director, somebody who's a senior member in this firm of theirs. Then he shouts and demands for an explanation about why the wife is there, what she knows. And the guy's like, she knows everything. I had to tell her. She's like a large or a majority shareholder in the business, so she has to know what's in the books. And then he goes to his office, scared out of his mind. Of course, Aseye confronts him and asks him why he would jeopardize their lives and put everything at risk, in danger, like their kids, their family, their home, their schools, their livelihood. And then it's like, listen, I wanted to make it. I wanted a better life for us, because when you have 5 kids, poverty is like, knocking at the door. So we have to set ourselves up. And then she's like, listen, we've been through this before. We've done this. And like the last time we did anything like this, we were lucky. Furthermore, how would you do this without even informing me? And then she's like, oh, I know why you did it. It's just because like you want to live like, like the rich and fabulous life and be a jet setter, because you're envious of all the other people who can do it and you can't. And then he's like, what's so wrong with wanting that better life? I'd rather live like that than live poor. And then he receives a mighty supernatural slap from his wife, who then says, I will never live poor. And obviously, like, she is pissed, so she storms off. Okay, so after that whole encounter that they had with Nigel and Susanna, she decides, let me lawyer up. So she is referred to this lawyer who, by her therapist, by the name Flora Gacy, who is portrayed by the actress Jocelyn Dumas. And these ladies were bringing it with their outfits, with everything. They were, what do you call it? They were beat. Their faces were beat. They beat it up. Anyways, I'm too silly. And then, so we get to discover like fishy things about Dede during this meeting with the lawyer, who tells her that she has to tell her about every single detail and lets her know that there can't be any secrets, so that when the whole issue goes to court, that there are no surprises. So we find out that Dede used to have an affair with her very own lawyer's husband, who ended up divorcing. And then she's like, yeah, you are the lawyer is like, yeah, you are the straw that broke the camel's back in our marriage. However, you weren't like the main issue. And anywho, she's completely professional and does not let any of that history get in the way of her defending the day. I beg, if it were me and I saw her, I'd be like, please, can you just get out of this office? You have all these issues, not my problem, Abi. But then she doesn't do that. She's a Christian. God bless her soul, because that is not me. Anyways, then other things we find out about the day, as she's been asked, oh, do you have any exes that can speak out on your behalf and be character witnesses? And she's like, most of the boys that I've been, people that I've been dating were boys, aka younger than me. And I'm like, chick, like, what have you been doing? Like, it seems like she has a certain fetish. But then again, that is talking about, that is addressing another misconcept. Hey, misconcept. Where is my English now? Anywho, another of those taboo issues that we Africans face. You have this whole situation where men are allowed to be sugar daddies, but then sugar mummies are a disgrace. So it's the same thing here with Dede. She's obviously a sugar mommy without the whole monetary exchange, more of the whole sexual adventure, because I think a lot of older men are more closed-minded to try that with women who are their age, or even with younger girls. I don't know, it could be there could be an exception to the rule, but what do I know? So many emerging concepts that really need to make us think, and that is what I said I loved about this movie. So we find that out about Dede, that she likes younger boys. So the lawyer is like, hey, listen, do you go to church? Dede is like, what do you mean church? And then she's like, do you have a relationship with a pastor? I told you, woman, I don't go to church. She told you she doesn't go to church. How would she have a relationship with a pastor? Anywho, then she's just like, anyways, I know of a pastor who can help you. Go see him. And Dede will go and see him in the next scene. And she talks to her pastor, the pastor, a pastor. And then she kind of like talks about like, oh, having issues and this and that. And the pastor is like, listen, you need to set yourself free. You can't be living life like this. You need to tell the truth. And it is like, I can't, like this, these people are just not understanding me. They don't know what's at stake. So the day is just like, I think I just need to go, because you're telling me to come clean about something that is potentially damaging to my reputation. So I don't know what you're trying. It's like topsy-turvy town. But the guy is like, listen, I'm gonna be your character witness if you need it. Surprise. Oh my gosh, there's a miracle. So next scene, we have Akasi. She's just going to the famous prestigious Polo Club. Anyway, so she's going to Polo Club. And let me just apologize for my assumed Ghanaian accent and dubbing it as a, I'm voicing over Nigerian accent and passing it off as Ghanaian accent. So please forgive me, brothers and sisters. But will I stop my ways? No, I will continue. So Akasi is going to Polo Club, and then she bumps into a guy who she knows and is familiar with, but then there's that awkwardness, and the guy grabs her hand and so that's her ex, who is Fifi Taylor, played by John Dumelo. Anywho, so they have drinks and they're catching up, talking about, oh yeah, I heard you were married. Yeah, I heard you were married too. How's married life? It's good. Yeah, it's good. Are you happy? Yeah, kind of happy. It works. Are you happy? It depends on what happiness, what makes you happy, or what happiness means to me. And then we find out that this ex is what I like to call an F-boy. But then he's a married F-boy. In the sense that he's not creeping, but then he's just not paying attention to you. Like, like to your emotional needs. He's chasing money and wealth and status, right? And they talk about that, and that was the reason as to why their relationship couldn't work. And the guy's like, listen, I got everything that I wanted, but then I lost the love of my life. Oh, how heartwarming, and how convenient that he pops up when they're having marital problems. And this is what's going to happen, ladies, in life. An ex is going to pop up when you're just on the verge of breakthrough, or you're on the verge of a breakdown. One of those two situations. So let's find out what's gonna happen. Is she gonna hook up with her ex, or is she gonna be faithful to her husband? Anywho, I don't know if it's like taboo to, or like, I don't know, it's just a faux pas. Like, these exes are dangerous, man. These are home wreckers. But we shall see what happens. So, following the confrontation Aseye had with her husband Larry in the office, she's super pissed. She goes back to the chill spot she was hanging out those past scenes where she met Yobana. And Yobana is all suited up, looking fine, walking up, and then he sees her from the back, and he's like, whoa, she's here again. African men, they can memorize you. They don't just memorize your face, they don't just memorize your hair. They memorize everything. They memorize your nyash, they memorize your legs, they memorize the back fat, you know, those rolls. They know 1, 2, 3, 4. That must be Aseye. Anywho, so he strolls up to her and is like, back with that like flirtatious banter, and it's like, oh, I guess the devil found work for you. And she's like, he might have to find work for me because I'm broke. My husband, like, she goes now into details about how he made a bad investment and swore that oil and gas was gospel, and how she didn't read the Bible. Anyway, the script was very well written, and I must hand clap to the writing. I really enjoyed it. So Yobana is like, listen, I can hook you up with this job because I am a wealthy guy, and yeah, I can give you a job that comes with a new car, accommodation, and a salary advance of up to $150,000. And then she's just looking at him and laughing like, you must be mad. And he's like, listen, I own this building and I can draw up the papers, sign them, and have the bank approve the fund release. And she's just like, what? I don't even know what you do. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm in real estate and commodities. I am a wealthy man. I just need you to show me where to put money. And she's like, okay, I'm a personal banker. I have banking experience. I know how to do that. And she's just like, I'll think about this job. Like I told you, all these things happen just as you're on the verge of breakdown or breakthrough. Lo and behold, this dangerous man. So this is not an ex, this is a new. He the new. Yobana the new. Meanwhile, at the Akasi and Fela households, there are still dramas. Because he comes home, the wife has moved out of the bedroom. Can you imagine your own husband kicking you out? So, she's moved downstairs. And you can see him, like, walking around the house looking for his wife. And then her, like, trying to avoid him, sneaking when she hears him go into a different room. Him listening out for her, trying to find out what room she's in. And yeah, she's just like, you kicked me out of my room. I do not need to speak to you. And it's like, I'm sad, but like, I need some. Anywho, so the next day the girls are running, and I really loved this scene because these girls are like voluptuous women with curves. Curves. Should I say calves or curves? With curves. And like they're working out, and I love that. Like they're showing Africans in a different light, We work out, yes. We cook good food, but we know how to shed this weight. Okay, not really weight, but then like, just trying to keep ourselves healthy. And then all the women are talking about the different dilemmas and the different situations in their lives, and the girls are like, listen, I say, we got you. We can lend you money if you need that money, because it's a lot to, lose. And also this guy seems kind of sketchy, like he might want more from you because he knows you marry, but like he's just giving you these opportunities. Be careful. And they're like, and Asaya is like, listen, I really need to like do something for myself. I need to get these bags and I need to take care of my situation because my man be tripping, and I can't just be out here sitting like with my hands behind my back. Okay. doing nothing. And then they're talking about how, like, the irony of the things that they wanted out of life and where they are. And Asay is talking about how she wanted a beautiful family with no money problems. And look, here she's having money problems. And then Dede is talking about how her mother was so scared of other men preying on her, and here she is preying on other men. And then Akasi is like, listen, I thought, like, I'd have it made and I'd have a child, but look at me, I'm barren and I've been kicked out of my own room. Yeah, Shasha, that type of gist. Then anywho, the next scene moves on to them going to church. All together as the girls, we are family. I got all my sisters with me. So we can see here, Asaya is completely enthusiastic. She's a total, conservative woman who loves going to church with her friends. And she's like, yeah, you guys sing this song, celebrate. And the girls are like, me, I haven't been to church in a while, please. I beg, why are you lifting my hands up? I love this scene. It was super cool. It's like when you're in church with your mom and she's like, I better see you singing. I better see you praising. I better not see you sleeping. Yeah, don't sneak out of the church at its due to go and hang out with your friends. You stay in the sanctuary or you stay in Sunday school. Anyways, flashbacks for me. So after church, this is when everything goes sideways for all the chicks. So Aseye goes home. House for sale. Times run up. The guy was given, her husband Larry was given a month to make sure everything was done. But then he couldn't pay back on time. So he put up everything. Like all the house was collateral and he was coming to collect the house. So it's bad. And then she's just like, listen, I can't do this, I can't take this, you put us in this hole, I'm going to be staying at my brother's place. And then he's just like, oh, I'm so sorry, I really wish I could have done things differently, but it's too late, homie, she gone. Sam and Dede are having a nice moonlight dinner, and like you can see Samantha, his daughter, is like putting things on the table, and she's like, hella pissed, like, lady, I should not be doing this. Dad, why are you making me do this? So Sam is trying to act like, oh, we're one big happy family, completely oblivious about his daughter's discomfort and her attitude that she has towards the whole thing. And that is another topic. African men don't consider children's feelings regarding like new relationships or breakup of relationships. They're just like, I will do what I want, when I want, how I want, and there's nothing you can do about it. You just like enjoy the ride even though you're scared of heights. Anyway, so the daughter, she also has her own attitude. She's just like, oh, so how did you guys meet? And then they're talking about how they met when they went to the therapist. Like, they bumped into each other, right? And then she's like, oh, did you guys talk about your illnesses? Did my dad tell you how he has problems with women and how he couldn't be, like, bothered to come and see me at my first recital, or how he missed my birthday? And the dad is like, that's enough. And then she's like, no, I just can't do this anymore. And then she storms off. And then Dede's like, okay, that's a major issue, we need to talk about these things about your past. And then it's like, no, I don't need to talk about like every detail of my past, like I'm good with how things are. And then Dede's like, yeah, I'd have been cool about that, but then things have a funny way of sneaking up on you. Like, she's not talking about her own past things. She's still not trusting. Yet here she is trying to tell Sam, like, you should be forthcoming with your past. And I understand why she would be defensive, just because his things are more like in her face. And Dede's things aren't in his face. But then I found that kind of hypocritical. However, it was not the context of their discussion did not need any of that, of her needing to come clean about her own situation. Anyways, you guys let me know in the comment section what you think. And also, sorry, I know this thing has like extended for a whole time, but please bear in mind that I am actually covering a 2-hour long movie, and yeah, this is an African movie, so you know we do everything long. African goodbyes, African timing, and that if you have a problem, I beg, log out. Don't leave any comments in my section as to why I'm taking so long. You are here, aren't you? If you are bad, move on or watch the whole thing for yourself and don't listen to my commentary. Anywho, enough of that rant session. I got problems. I need a therapist, obviously. Anywho, so then now we move on to the last girl with problems, Akasi. So Akasi is holed up in her room, but then she is kikiing and kakaing with Nani, her ex Taylor, and they're doing some business discussions, because it's all about work. You know, you gotta get that bag. And then her husband is like, listen, do you want to get a divorce? Because you are here holed up while I'm out there missing you, longing for you, and you're just busy here laughing and talking with Taylor, your ex. Like, I thought you hated him. And then she's like, that was a long time ago. And no, I don't want a divorce. Taylor is the least of our marital problems. We have our own issues. I'm like, this is one civilized couple. Me, I'd have lost it. Whether our Akasi or our fella, whichever way you look at it, I'm like, there's democracy in that house. In my house, there will be chaos and pandemonium. I don't know, how would you guys feel about like your husband or your wife or your partner talking to their exes, like while you're in the same house or even at all? Like, I'm not super like possessive and jealous like that, but like, yo, there are boundaries, and I'm like, what's up with these people? So that is how we end it with the Akasis, or should I call them the Moses family. Then meanwhile, homegirl here, Mama Watoto, aka Aseye. Mama Watoto just means mother of children in Swahili. Mama Watoto over here hanging out with Mr. Fine boy, fine boy no pimples, Yobana. And they're just watching the sunrise, and I'm like, what are you guys doing watching the sunrise? Okay, this is not appropriate activities to be doing. Even if it is like, even if you look at it from the aspect of work not being included, like, that's inappropriate, because like you're still involved. Ama, you are in an entanglement like Will Smith and Jada. Entanglement. Anywho, sidetrack. Yeah, we have a Will and Jada and August Alsina. Maybe that's what we should call them. Aseye is Jada, Yobana is August, and Larry is Will Smith. Anywho, yeah, and then he's like, so they're talking about their childhood and where they came from and their goals for the future and how they are so determined not to be poor. And so, yeah, Aseye is just like, yeah, you know, when I was a younger girl, and we wanted something and my mom couldn't afford it because she had no money, she would tell us, yeah, let's try again tomorrow. Like, when the sun rises again, we'll try again. So just giving, it's a very hopeful statement to have for your life. It's like, if you can't get something today, just wait till the sun rises, and tomorrow might give you a different outcome. It might have luck. You know, don't ever be too down on yourself. Then, of course, Mr. August Alsina, aka Yobana, is like, listen, do you want to go somewhere? I have a place I'd like to show you. And then we go to this beautiful, gorgeous forest. I think these are cedars or oaks. I don't know, but it sure looks like someplace beautiful. I was going to say someplace in the States, but I think it's someplace in Ghana. Africa is beautiful, Sha. So he talks to her and tells her, like, listen, I didn't want to ruin your moment that you had earlier on, but then I came from abject poverty as well. Like, my father was a poor guy. Like, my mom passed away, and then he was a watchman, aka guard, like for rich people, and like he couldn't afford rent in school and all these things, so he had to forego the rent, and then they ended up having to sleep in the garages of these guys while they were asleep, of his employers, and then they had have to wake up very early in the morning and go to school, and then leave school late so that they can do the whole cycle again. And then he talks about how him and his siblings were just so determined to not having to live like that, and to honor their father's sacrifice and love by making a better name for themselves and a better life for themselves. So his brother, who was sick, he was a sick child growing up, ended up becoming an engineer, and he builds these houses which Yobana now owns. And he was like, I guess I do that because I'm still feeling the cold. And that just hit so hard. It's like, even though you rise from whatever issues that you had as a child, you're still trying to make up for that in your life as an adulthood. So it's like that whole acquisitiveness, like no matter how much wealth you have, even if you come from like a background of lack, you're still going to like make sure you have as much as you can so that you can make up for the time that you didn't have. Anyways, and while they're on that super deep walk, she gets a call about Dede. So they have to leave very quickly. Let me ask a question. How many of you guys have dogs and walk them? Because me, I've never seen, like, it's now a new wave in Africa of people owning dogs as pets as opposed to having them as guard dogs. Very interesting. Mandela, I guess 2019 was the year of return. So yeah, Asaya gets the news and she's like, listen, we gotta go. Where are they going? We don't know. Akasi walks into her office, and she works in a very, what do I want to say? I don't know the word, but it's like a very posh workplace. She gets to her office and she's like, strutting so elegantly, and as soon as she closes the door, she just breaks down crying. And then who walks in? Lo and behold, it's Taylor, and he's comforting her, asking her what's up. So we put 2 and 2 together, and then Akasi finally says, yeah, it's my girl, she's been booked and she's done nothing wrong. And like, these girls really love each other like sisters. So I loved that. And anyways, so Taylor is comforting her and saying, listen, it'll all work out. Don't worry about it, blah, 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 blah. What ends up happening, she ends up leaning over and kissing him. And I'm like, let me just drop this cup of coffee now. Let me drop this cup of coffee that you fetched from me from the bar behind in your office. I beg, what kind of office is that? I'm like, it's a whole bar there. There's a whole sofa set there. Well, some of us are left in our cubicles or wherever it is that we work. And then, so the girls finally hook up together, and we see Dede doing what is that walk called? The frog march? I don't know. Anywho, she's being escorted by 2 guards with her lawyer following suit, and then she bumps into Nigel and Susanna. So it's clear that these 2 have reported her to the police for sexual assault. And yeah, she's getting booked, and she's just like scared out of her mind. So anywho, she ends up being released on bail, and her girls are there to like pick her up, comfort her, and be like, listen, it's gonna be good, it's gonna be aight. And her lawyer's like, listen, you guys need to stay with her and make sure she's okay. Which was good, and they did stay with her. And so they're trying to cheer her up. They go for this spa, and she's like, yo guys, I'm really scared of going to jail. I don't want to go to jail. And they're like, listen, you're not going to go to jail, okay? And then she's like, anyways, on a different note, I think after this experience, I've decided I'm going to be celibate. And they're just looking at her and laughing, because she the freak of the group. She the freak of the group. You're not going to be celibate. And then they talk about how this time, like when they were in college, one of their friends was going through something, and like they had to tie themselves, like their feet to each other, so that the girl wouldn't do anything crazy. And they all laugh, and then they hang out and have a sleepover. And then in the middle of the night, they wake up to like a cold draft, and then they look up and they see Dede is just out there on the balcony crying, and they go and comfort her and then bring her back in because she's like so scared of whatever is gonna happen. They wake up in the morning and like the camera pans over and you just see all of their legs tied to each other. Oh, I thought that was like super cute. And then she gets a phone call informing her that all charges have been dropped, and they're like, oh yeah, there is a miracle. That is what miracle number 2. So now actually there are many miracles in this movie. I think they should say the perfect miracle. That should have been the name of the movie. So Asaya goes home and she's like packing up more of her things. She's like, listen, I just needed a few more things and I'm out. And then when her husband sees her, he's like, I have to get her attention. So he's acting all sketchy. He's going up to the rooms, acting all sexy schmexy, and you're like, what is he doing? And he starts like, undressing in the bathroom, and then she's like closing the door. This is the same man who was telling his wife, no, I do not want and then now he's trying to seduce her. Excuse me, please, can you just stay with your clothes in that bathroom? So anyhow, she slams the door in front of his face. And then he's like fake showering. And then he's like, I need a towel. So she grabs a towel and then she hands it over, and he's like all sudded up. And she's just like, thirsting over him. I beg, control your thirst. I thought you were just with gentleman Augustina. What's his name? Not Augustina. August, aka Ubana. Anywho, the thirst trap was laid. She did not step into that trap, but you know she was feeling the homie. She left the shock, all right. So the next scene that we get to is Taylor and Akasi catching up for dinner. They're having this conversation where they talk about the situation of their marriages. This comes about by Fela was calling Akasi, and she just decides she's not going to pick up the phone. And Taylor's like, really, you're not going to pick up the phone? She's like, not right now. And then they talk about the dynamics of, how they communicate with each other, in terms of like how their spouses communicate with them. And Taylor is very, in my opinion, I wouldn't fall for a guy, or I wouldn't let my husband or make a guy be my husband if he was like this. He's just like, no, I value my privacy, and it's a situation that's don't ask, don't tell, And so Akasi is asking him, like, what if something happened to her? Wouldn't you like call her? Don't you think calling her is important? And he's like, I would find out eventually. And I was like, yo, that is so cold-blooded. And he talks about how he values discretion and privacy, and he leans over and touches her hand, and he's like, that's what you want, isn't it? Discretion. Kind of hinting at like, yeah, we can have this affair and no one has to know about anything. So the scene ends on a cliffhanger because we don't know what she really says. She's just gazing into his eyes and all that jazz. Anywho, so she ends up going back home. And as soon as she walks through the door, her husband is sitting on a couch in the dark, and he's like, where have you been? I've been trying to call you. And she's like, oh my God, thank you. And he's like, for what? Thank you so much for checking up on me and calling me and like, loving me like that. And then it's at that moment she realizes that her husband is the person who's going to give her the type of love and affection that she needs, and that's the thing about exes. Sometimes you can fall into the trap of wanting to go back to something, thinking it's gonna be better than what you have, or better the second time around. But then when you realize it, when you get to that actual moment, you realize nothing's really going to change, and you're going to miss out on something potentially great. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So her husband definitely won, that whole struggle between her ex and her current. And that was something that I was like, oh my gosh, this is how this is going to end. No, there's gonna be a broken family. But it didn't happen. Thankfully it didn't happen. So Fela and Akasi finally make up, and then the next day they're having coffee and they're all cuddled and cozied up on their couch. And then Akasi suddenly gets a call, and she's like, you can tell it's not a good phone call to get, because she's like shocked, she is pissed at the same time. And so what ends up happening is that she discovers that the day's sex tape has been leaked and it's all over the internet. And then the following scenes now lead us to seeing kind of the news spreading. And then the news about her sex tape finally spreading, and then all the girls rush and gather together at Dede's place, and they're all wondering how this could have happened. And her lawyer is there, and her character witness, aka Reverend Techi, was there, and they're all wondering, like, trying to get comfort in a religious way, like, oh, how can this happen? Today is such a good person. And then they're looking to the Reverend for answers to kind of put their minds at ease and tell them, oh, everything's gonna be okay, and kind of get her to be redeemed or whatever. And then Akas is not having any of it. She's like, good things happen to bad people. I mean, bad things happen to good people all the time, and good things happen to bad people all the time. So I don't want to hear any of this argument that things happen for a reason, and whatever explanation that she thought that the Reverend would give her. Instead, he was just like, it's a good thing that this has happened. And they're all shocked, like, how can you say that? Then he's like, we have been talking, Dede and him have been talking, and this was the thing that she feared the most. And now that it has actually happened, now she doesn't have to hold her breath, looking over her back, fearing that it's gonna happen, because now it's finally happened, so she can rest easy and just deal with whatever consequences come her way. Of course, the girls are not pleased to hear that. I should say ladies are not pleased to hear that. But anyways, we move on to Sammy getting wind of the sex tape, and then her showing her father and telling her, listen, I'm trying to protect you, so you really need to see this, because it's all over the internet. And he couldn't be bothered. He's just heartbroken. He doesn't care about what he sees. He's just missing his boo. Anyways, then we move on to the next scene, and that's of Aseye and Yobana. And she's in this new big house, which was part of the salary benefits, right? New accommodations and all that stuff. So we find out that is actually the property of Yobana that was built by his brother, and she's just in awe. She's happy about getting her new beginning and possibly finding love with a new man and all that stuff. So she's like, oh yeah, there's a lovely view, you should come and take a look at it, because he hadn't seen that view. And she's staring outside the window, and then she's staring at the view outside, he's staring at his own different view, which happens to be Aseye. So they kind of lock eyes, and then the moment that we've all been expecting, anticipating, they lock lips. Was I a fan of this? No, I wasn't a fan of this, because she a married man and we don't need no entanglements up in this piece, okay? Anywho, so they end up kissing, and then like she's feeling the boy, she's feeling the kiss and all that jazz, but then she jerks as she's returning the kiss, and then she pushes him away, and something just dawns on her, and she's like, yeah, I'm pregnant. And it's like, that's not how it works. We just kiss. And then she's like, I know I'm pregnant. And then she's like, oh yeah, it's not yours. Don't worry about it. And then he's like, shouldn't you check first, and find out? And then she's like, I would know, because this has happened to me before. I'm a mother of 5 children. So she's revealed this piece of information that she had left out this entire time. And then he's like, what? You have 5 kids? And then he's like, you're going to get rid of it, of course. And she is super offended because we all know that Asaya loves her children. Those are the most important things to her in life. And she's like, you know what? I'm about to leave you. And then I'm about to get rid of you. How about that? Anyway, and then she just walks away. She's like, you know what? I can't believe you said that. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. But like 5 kids is already too much. It's like, what about 6? Aren't you scared of being poor? That same whole argument comes back. And then she's like, listen, if you can't handle it, you can't handle it. I'm out. And then he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, no, I want you back, blah, blah, blah. But we all know dude can't take care of like 5, 6 kids. That's already too much. That comes with her being already married, which is a complication in itself. But we all know that doesn't stop some people. Shame on you people. Anywho, just talking about characters here, so don't get offended. So she goes back home and you can see she's a mess. She's crying, and she finds Larry packing up all the housewares. And then he's like, I just thought I'd just beat them to the punch. I don't want to get kicked out of my house. How about I move already, And she's just like, oh my gosh, everything, her world around her is just crumbling. And then she just decides to come clean about being pregnant. And only about being pregnant, might I add. And then they hug and they make up. And then he's like, of course you are. Of course you are. Of course you're pregnant, From the earlier scenes, how he jokes about her being pregnant or already or potentially getting pregnant after they knew each other biblically. And then so as it's kind of washing over them, and as they're letting it sink in, they're sitting on the steps, on their stairs, and then he's just like, you know what? I heard about Dede's tape. How about we give her a call, and then maybe she'll give us some, tips and tricks to spice things up. And then she's like, I am offended that you would say something like that. And it's like, please, we need to spice up our marriage. We've been married for 11 years. We have basically tried everything there is to try. We need to try something new. And then she's like, hey, I have a few tricks up my sleeve. Thank you very much. And he's like, we all know your trick, okay? And I love this conversation because it was so organic. It was so great to see like a couple flirting / teasing each other. And it just brings back like, old school vibes. Taking you back to like when you guys first met. Like, it's so easy to fall back into knowing your partner or finding them so predictable. So it's nice when they can kind of like push your buttons in like a nice joking way. And then so and he's like, yeah, if we do this, you might end up being pregnant with a 7th one or an 8th one. And I found that so funny. Anyways, they get busy and they kiss and make up. So this is the spirit of these last scenes, are the spirit of everybody kind of making up. The next people on the deck are Sammy and Sam, father and daughter, and they're just outside in their backyard, and Sam is just deflated completely. He's just sad, and then his daughter comes and walks up to him, and she talks to him, asks him why he doesn't care about her, why he never tried, with her. And then it's like, I've tried so hard, but like your mother didn't tell you everything. Like, like she didn't tell you that I tried to come to your recital. She didn't tell you that I tried calling you like a lot of times on your birthday, but then she just didn't pick up the phone. So it comes out that her mother was actually keeping all this information from her daughter and subsequently poisoning her against her father. And then Sammy asks her dad, like, why didn't you fight harder for me? And she's like, and he says, I did. I went to therapy. I've spent so much money and so many years, just to make sure I could get right so that I could get you back, because I was so devastated when I lost you. And then they both like forgive each other and understand each other finally and make up. Because of that breakthrough, Sammy actually goes and tries to reconcile with Dede, apologizes for her behavior, and explains how her father needs her. And so she tells Dede, oh yeah, this is what happened, I got it all wrong. My mom actually was scared of settling down with my dad, and then when she found out she was pregnant, she thought for sure he's gonna try and lock it down. So she ran away and she took me with her. And by the time the dad finally got me back, he was so messed up. And then that's when he started going to therapy again, and that's when he met you and decided to change his ways. And then she's like, listen, whatever you're telling me, it's coming too late. I'm a mess already. I'm sure you've already seen what is out there, aka her leaked sex tape, and the type of and it's nature. So at that moment, Sam walks through the door and he's like, so let's be messed up together. And then he talks about how he's so relieved that he saw that she's freaky like that, because he has different experiences and he's a wild man himself, and he was scared that he would be too much for her and she wouldn't be able to understand his likes or his preferences. But then now he sees that they're on the same page and they're actually soulmates. And then she's like, Sam, his daughter, is like, I'll meet you guys in the car because this is just too freaky for me. I don't need to be scarred like that. So she leaves, and then he's like, listen, let's just do this thing. Let's be together. And then he's like, do you think you can handle me? And then she's like, bring it on. And then they try to get busy on the table, and she's like, listen, I don't work here anymore. All the better reason. Anyhow, we don't know if they went through or they kept Sammy in the car waiting. We don't know. So then we flash forward into a couple more months, and we see Aseye is further along in her pregnancy, and they're in their boardroom, and they're anxiously awaiting a call or for a person. And Larry's talking to Fela. Actually, Fela had tried to hook Larry up. I forgot to mention that over the phone when they were discussing about their romantic woes and the financial woes. Fella was like, listen, I know a bunch of people, I can give you the plug. So now we see him following through with that, and then he's like, yeah, the investor that I found for you actually doesn't want to come in, and he's interested, but then he wants to go on and just be anonymous and let his lawyers handle the whole contract and leave you in charge basically of the whole project. And then he's like, really? So he really wants to be a silent partner? And then Fela is like, yes. And then he was like, yeah, I really wish he came through because Aseye wanted to meet him. Then he was like, I'm sorry, he is insistent on being anonymous. They get off the phone, he shares the news with Aseye, and they celebrate at them recovering their business. And then when Fela gets off the phone, we discover none other than Yobana is the mystery man. He's the mystery investor. And Fela asks him, listen, are you sure you want to be a silent partner? Because there's a lot of money on the line. Then he's like, no, listen, I trust you and my lawyers to handle everything and make sure it runs smoothly. And then as he's leaving, Fela is like, so are you ever going to meet them? And then he's like, eventually, someday I will. Oh, and we know, ... they already did. But I found it really big of him not wanting to blow up their marriage and helping them out. And I'm like, did he actually fall in love with Aseye? I'll never know. Do I agree with it? No, but then thanks for the money. Then flash forward to a couple more more months, I'm guessing, or more weeks. There's a celebration and there's dancing and there's a party, and guess what happens? It actually happens to be Dede's marriage to Sam, and they're at their wedding and she's flashing her ring and she's so happy, and then she's chit-chatting with the girls, and then she's like, as they're getting ready to take their picture, Akasi's like, do you guys smell that? And then they're like, what? And she's like, I've been picking up scents of late. And then Ase is like looking at her like, girl, something's up. Like you're pregnant, you know that, right? And she's like, no. And then Ase is like, oh, so when was the last time you had your period? And then she's like, 6 weeks ago. And they all freak out. They all lose their minds because their girl be pregnant. The girl, her belly. They have belly now, belly for fella. So all their lives have kind of come around full circle, and they've finally gotten everything that they wanted after enduring the hardships that came along the way, and then they take their final picture. I love this movie. I thought it was completely dope. I would definitely recommend for anyone who loves African films, or just is woke and wants to support, like, African or Black people films, and in a totally new way, because it's like an African flick on Netflix. I mean, we've come a mighty, mighty long way, and I am so excited to see these other actresses in their different movies, because, like me, this is something that's new for me. And I definitely want to check out the other movies on Netflix as well that are from Ghana and Nigeria. I know I've watched Wedding Party 1 and 2. And anyways, I think that's the few. The other ones just used to be those, Africa Magic ones that we used to all binge watch, or the ones that were that we used to get on CDs on the street. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for taking the time. I know this was a mighty long review / commentary, but this is an African movie. You know how long they be. So don't blame me. I hope you are washing dishes or cleaning the house, or just relaxing, lounging. Not trying to watch this while you're at work. Not trying to watch this as you're, hiking or whatever productive activity. You're not supposed to be watching this. Watch this during your downtime, when background noise. If you're in for the gist and you like the drama, this is the place that you belong. Anyways, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave some comments for future ideas. Is this the kind of content that you would like to hear? And if it is, what movies would you recommend I do a commentary on again? Thank you so much, and have a lovely day, guys. Till next time, be safe. Bye.